Is being alive defined by a pulse of a heart, or the spark of thought in a machine?
Recently, I stumbled across a YouTube series called Minecraft Mysteries on a small YouTube channel. At first glance, it appears to be a simple exploration of mysteries on a Minecraft server. But as I delve deeper, I realized it explores an intriguing and complex question. Should AI be treated like humans? The first episode starts with a protagonist launching Minecraft and entering a seemingly normal server. They're on a Discord call with a character named GameAdvent. GameAdvent seems to have some admin control over the server, being able to spawn chests with items in it for the protagonist to get. The protagonist then explores the server and finds a nice spot to start building. Up until now, the only things to note is when the protagonist was traveling, the server crashes a few times, indicating that the server has some issues. When the protagonist starts building, it goes into a time lapse and then crashes. When it glitches back to the server, the protagonist spots another player. This other player looks exactly like the protagonist, and it walks away, and we see that it was Jerry too that left the server. After that, the protagonist then tries to go back into the house when they find a sign.
Not everything is as it seems.
He starts questioning what that could mean. He texts GameAdvent and asks if anyone was on the server, and GameAdvent says no one was on the server. He then breaks the sign and tries to move on when he sees Herobrine join the server, as if on cue, weirdly enough. Herobrine asks the protagonist for help, and he agrees to help Herobrine. He then goes into a boat and travels off, setting up the start of Minecraft Mysteries. The video then has two questions at the end. Will the server be fixed and the mystery be solved? Or will Jerry go deep into a mystery that can't be solved? So, we know that this has to be the protagonist's name, is Jerry. And that second question seems to be talking about something else other than the server. The last frame of the video repeats what the sign says. Nothing is as it seems, with the frame showing that player. Under the video, you can find a couple of different things. A quote from Death is Nothing at All, talking about death.
Death is nothing at all. It does not count. I have only slipped away into the next room. Nothing has happened. Everything remains exactly as it was. I am I, and you are you, and the old life that we lived so fondly together is untouched, unchanged. Whatever we were to each other, that we are still. Call me by the old familiar name. Speak to me in the easy way which you used to.
Text similar to the two questions, an unlisted video, and some weird letters. The weird letters is, from what I could figure out, is base64, and it reads as what is systemos.mp4, and YouTube link goes here. What is systemos? And based on how the second code says YouTube link goes here, I bet there will be more to this series in the future. The unlisted video called Monitoring is also the second video in the playlist, and it is from the perspective of that Jerry player the protagonist Jerry saw, except they don't have a hotbar. The music is from Music Disc 13, and the video ends with the text.
Notes. The subject seems unaware of what the current situation is. We'll continue to monitor and observe, and we'll start Protocol HB J2.
The description of this video also has some text as well.
Testing on this one seems to be doing better than how the others turned out. Here is hoping. J2.
The main question now is, who is J2? Is the protagonist some kind of test subject or something? Is Protocol HB Herobrine? This gives more questions than answers, but the best we can do is go on to the next video. The next video starts with two quotes.
Our birth is but a sleep and a forgetting. The soul that rises with us, our life star. William Wordsworth. Once Pandora's box is opened, it cannot be closed again.
This could be hinting something later that might be revealed in the video. The video then shows our protagonist Jerry in a boat heading to the village that Herobrine talked about in the first video. The video shows the title of the video, but then glitches to say "into the box," confirming that something is about to happen in the video. The protagonist Jerry looks around the village, starting to question whether making the server was a good idea or not. And maybe he's just seeing things that weren't there, until he finds a sign that appears behind him. It's the same text as last time, but this time there's more on the back of the sign, saying,
You are being watched.
it's clear now that the person making the signs knows more than what is going on. Protagonist Jerry ends up breaking the sign and he puts it in his inventory, where you could see that he still has the other sign he broke. Maybe it's to remind him that it was real. In any case, the video glitches and it is now raining. Protagonist Jerry then starts thinking this was all just a waste of time and tries to call GameAdvent. But this time, he sees that the Discord server is gone. He tries messaging him, and it reveals that the person he texted was actually some random person. He starts to wonder what is really going on. The video glitches again, and he tries to find a villager, only to see that all the mobs in the area have died. The villagers have disappeared. Protagonist Jerry then questions everything. Herobrine joins the server again, and Jerry starts asking questions. When Jerry starts asking a lot of questions, it glitches out and it goes black. Then we hear two new characters have a conversation.
Good to know. Don't try to have a server subjects. They will go into madness pretty quickly.
I think we could just reset their mind and try again. This time, make it a single player world and leave out GameAdvent and make it to where they are just alone. Also make sure they don't have any access to anything besides Minecraft. I don't know where they got that number they texted or where that Discord server came from, but we can't have any mistakes like that again.
Go ahead. Activating cleansing protocol and rebooting the system.
Oh, and you got those weird glitches and crashes taken care of, right?
Yes, as far as we know, it has been taken care of. Good.
Once Subject 13 is online, tell me. I gotta go check out something real quick.
You got it, boss.
So apparently, I guess whoever is running the show also doesn't know who the person Jerry ended up texting was. But one of them does say a name, Subject 13. Is that who we were watching? That would explain the number 13 from the disc being used when they were watching him. After the conversation is done, it reboots and it goes to the credits. In the credits, we see that it glitches from created by Jerry Smallwood to created by J2. Is it talking about who created the video or who created the subject? The video ends with a mysterious shadow figure with the text, "I'm still here." Is this the sign person? That would explain why the same text as the sign would show up at the end of the video. But how is sign person able to access the video? The description of the video has a couple of things as well. Talking about how the reboot is complete, it has a list of notes that the two people were talking about. And at the bottom it says,
The descent into the box has begun. You are only delaying the inevitable.
is that sign person? And does that mean that multiple people have access to the videos? This only makes more questions than answers, so let's just continue on to the next video. The next video, called The Start of the Reboot, starts with a quote from Stephen Hawking.
Look up at the stars and not down at your feet. Try to make sense of what you see and wonder about what makes the universe exist. Be curious.
It's definitely an interesting choice for a quote, but it will start to make sense later on. We see it rebooting and loading some system. It then has this opening credits. It tells us about the system is now running a new system OS. It shows that Subject 13 is active. This would confirm that we are in fact watching a Jerry called Subject 13. It shows an observation lookout is online and that protocol HB has been disabled. So we know that they are watching Subject 13 and Herobrine is no longer online. Then Subject 13 spawns in. He gasps for air and says he feels like he had some sort of nightmare. Like when they wiped his memories, all he can recall now is something happened, but he doesn't know what. He then acts like he's doing a Minecraft video. For the most part, it goes into a normal looking Minecraft video, until he goes upstairs to find a sign. It reads,
You are in danger.
somehow, the sign person can still have access to whatever this system OS is. He tries to shake off the feeling of something being off and breaks the sign. He moves on until he finds another sign that reads,
Nothing is as it seems. You need to escape. Fight the system. Stop him.
Who is him? How does the sign person know so much? Subject 13 then breaks the sign, thinking it's just some sort of prank. He then gets a plan of what to do next and starts talking for an outro of this supposed Minecraft video, until he sees something and it glitches out. We then see two new characters. These seem to be the two characters we heard last video. It looks like Jerry with a diamond helmet and Jerry with a blue dyed leather helmet. They talk about how Subject 13 is their most advanced subject. The diamond helmet Jerry talks about how Subject 13 might be the one for their boss. The leather helmet Jerry then looks down the hall to show us rooms from the previous subjects before Subject 13, and then it cuts to credits. The credits show a glitch from directed by J2 to directed by him, showing that maybe this him character is behind whatever is going on. It also shows us about Subject 13 being 7% ready for something. It's also addressing the signs that have been appearing, calling it an anomaly and that the source is unknown. We also learn that this system OS is on version 15.2.4. Not sure what the numbers mean, but it might be important later on. We also learn about the levels that have access to the subjects. We see a leather blue rank, a diamond rank, as well as J2. Why would J2 have some sort of special access compared to the ranks? It also says that an unknown rank tried accessing System OS. Is that the sign person? The video ends with it glitching out and that mysterious shadow figure appears with the text, Access Granted. Did Sign Guy get access to System OS somehow? How is he doing that? The description just repeats some of what we learned already, but with one difference. The subject 13 is 13% ready instead of 7, and that they are trying to track the unknown rank that access System OS. This seems to only raise more questions, so let's continue to the next video. The feeling of freedom starts with a quote.
In striving for greatness, we often lose sight of what makes us human.
The video picks up where we last saw Subject 13. He then shakes off what he saw and talks about not stopping until he gets done with research to be able to go to space. It then cuts to 9 months later, where we see he made a lot of progress. All he needs now is an engine. He then decides to go mining, and when he comes back, he finds a sign that reads,
You want to know the truth? This should help.
and it points to an item frame with an engine in it. Somehow, Sign Guy was able to help Subject 13. He then builds the rocket and gets ready for takeoff. Before he gets in the rocket, he says that he hopes that Sign Person knows what he is doing, and Subject 13 blasts off into space. We then see the Helmet Jerrys talking again, and they're talking about preparing for the systems for space. They both seem worried if it can handle it or not, and they back up the systems to get things prepared. The credits tell us that Subject 13 is now at 38% ready for something. It then shows us that System OS is preparing for space travel. System OS is now at version 15.5.6, and that the unknown rank spawned in the item, indicating that Sign Person can spawn in items somehow. It then backs up servers and ends up restoring memories in the server. And it ends with starting the simulation to the moon dimension. The shadow figure appears in the last frame, but with no text. The description just tells us that System OS is preparing for space travel, but we can also find an unlisted video titled Signs. In this untitled video, we see all the signs that have been appearing, and we learn that this sign person has been able to access System OS through Redstone somehow. When he is done, we see the pause menu and we see that sign person comes from Minecraft Bedrock Edition. It then cuts to a screen showing us that it is accessing System OS. We see the text that he got access and that it welcomes GameAdvent 2 Bedrock user. And then it shows a warning that System OS is updating to version 16.0.0. The description shows us that System OS has been updating more lately, and that sign person, which I can call Bedrock user, says that someone, I think talking about Subject 13, is on his own now to break free from the system. So now we know that Sign Guy is a Jerry from Bedrock, but we still have questions to solve, so let's continue on. The start of Chaos begins with us seeing that System OS is now on version 16.0.0. We then see that it recovered all of the subject's memories from the first two videos. We also see a new memory that is about when Subject 13 was first online, talking about kind of everything we saw so far. The Helmet Jerrys talk about them testing a Discord program, which answers where the Discord call came from in the beginning. They talk about the backup being what they saw after the reboot. We also hear about how the space mod could cause the system to time out, something important to note later on. We then see present Helmet Jerrys, and they talk about how they got some problem solved and that they can simulate the moon. We then see Subject 13 again. He gasps for air and says he passed out for a moment. He then says that he finally is free from the noise until we hear that his memories are flooding back to him. He now remembers everything and then tries to figure out what to do. He then builds a flying machine and the system glitches out. We then see Subject 13 wake up from the simulation. We see the different ways that the other subjects were in until Subject 13 finds Subject 1's room. We learn that Subject 1 only had a small world, and that they slowly went from being in binary to learning different things. We learn about that Subject 1 learned about him and went to help him. We also learn that Subject 1 is J2. Subject 13 then leaves what we learn is Subject's Hall, and he finds a computer observation room. We hear the Helmet Jerrys talk about how the system crashed and they can't afford another failure. We see on the big screen that it has a progressive circle at 78% with 16.50 on the corner. Is that for System OS? Is that why it has been updating a lot? Is it preparing for version 16.5? An alert then goes off saying that Subject 13 is loose and needs to be contained. Subject 13 then runs into a hallway that leads him to what looks like sewers. It then cuts to the Helmet Jerrys, and they talk about a backup protocol. They say that something always goes wrong with the subjects, and that they will use the data they have for some protocol called Operation Clone and Adapt. It then cuts back to Subject 13, and he jumps into a hole that leads deeper somewhere. It then shows that it has collected the data, but the last frame of the video shows that it has some error. The description reads,
The box is open. The pieces are placed. The beginning of the end is approaching. Be ready.
who wrote that? Was it Bedrock Jerry? But it's probably maybe even him. And where is Subject 13 going? The only way to find out, let's continue to the next video. The next episode, called The Opened Box, starts off by continuing where the last episode left off. It shows us Operation Clone and Adapt is at 1% before it gets an error. We then see the Helmet Jerrys talking about how to fix the problem. The operations seem to have crashed their servers, and they have to shut it down to save what they have. They run to a new area down a hall where we could see two levers and a sign that reads, "Do not touch unless it's an emergency." And they flick the levers and the screen goes to black. I hope that at least saved our data. So, when can we turn it back on again? I'd say in about 2 hours, give or take. Great. We then see Subject 13 falling from the sky, and we see the Minecraft world is black and green outline. Somehow, he's back on the Minecraft server. He sees a figure in the distance and goes over to where he saw that figure. This figure then asks Subject 13 if he wants answers, and he says he will tell Subject 13 a tale of what Minecraft is fully capable of, and then it cuts to black. The description of this video just reads, "Tick tock, tick tock," like they're running out of time. This video felt like it didn't have much happening compared to the others, maybe showing that we are in the final stretch of events that are about to unfold. So the only way to know is to continue to the next episode. This video begins with the mysterious figure telling us some history. He starts off by saying that the almighty being, Notch, created the grass and stone blocks and made the first world, or the first version of Minecraft. He then says that Notch created him, telling us that we are listening to Steve. Steve talks about how the world slowly expanded, and basically is the different versions of Minecraft before InfDev. He then says that when Notch made infinite terrain, he made something called InfDev tech to be able to pull it off. Steve tells us that this InfDev tech could be reality altering if used incorrectly, and that Steve created Herobrine to distract people from learning about InfDev tech. Steve says that InfDev tech was hidden somewhere in the original Minecraft code, and that after Herobrine, it was lost to history. Steve then talks about the character we know as him, and how him found part of the InfDev tech and used it to create System OS. He says that he created J2, or Subject 1, and had his help to the other subjects. Steve then says that after Subject 3, he was making the subjects from AI. This would explain the fact that J2 is a clone and not an AI. In the rooms we see after Subject 3 are chambers, like Subject 13 was in. Steve then tells us that Subject 13 is the most advanced AI out of all these subjects. Steve says that the reason why him is working on subjects is to use them to find the rest of the code so him can change reality. Steve then tells Subject 13 that he can make his own purpose and needs to stop him and save Minecraft from being destroyed. Then Steve leaves. Subject 13 then focuses on his inner code and figures out how to fly back up to System OS. We then see the text tell us that System OS access granted, and it welcomed Jerry Bedrock, telling us that somehow Sign Jerry was able to access System OS again. The description of this video reads,
Subject 13 Jerry learns some of the history about Minecraft and the creation of System OS.
Not sure who put that, but this video did tell us some things about him. For some reason, him wants to change reality. As of why, not sure yet. But for now, let's move on to the next video. The next video, titled The Turns of Tabled, starts off with the Helmet Jerrys. The Leather Helmet Jerry calls Steve the First and says that Subject 13 should have found him by now, almost like they planned for that to happen. Diamond Helmet Jerry seems to not know as much as Leather Helmet Jerry. They get an alert about Subject 13 being in the observation room, and Diamond Helmet Jerry goes while the other one stays to prepare for things. It then cuts to Subject 13 flying into the system. You could see that parts of the hall seem to have been blocked off. Subject 13 makes his way to the observation room and tries to figure out how to use the computer. Diamond Helmet Jerry appears, and the two have an interesting conversation. We learn that the reason they need Subject 13 is because Subject 13 is the last one they were able to do before him's part of InfDev Tech is losing its power too much. So they put most of their progress into Subject 13. Diamond Helmet Jerry then knocks out Subject 13, and we see they put him in a new machine-like cell. They turn it on, and then it fades to someone watching part of the last video. We see that this is Bedrock Edition of Minecraft, based on what we see around him. Mainly the poisonous potato stuff and the 15th anniversary stuff, which can be found through add-on. This must be the Sign Jerry. He talks about how he will need an overwrite key in order to actually do what he needs to do. Based on the text of the last video, this seems to be taking place around the same time as when Subject 13 is flying back to the system. The video then ends with the text showing Operation Override, and it ends at 99%. The video's description shows us that System OS has had warning logs, and it has notified admin, him, confirming that him is the main person in control of System OS. With all these questions and loose ends, the only thing we could do is continue watching to the next video. The second to last video, The Only Hope, starts with showing the override being complete, and we see Sign Jerry watching part of the last video. Sign Jerry seems to have a lot of command blocks, all connecting to another portal. Sign Jerry puts the override key in and activates the command blocks. It then opens, and we see the System OS. It then cuts to the Helmet Jerrys, talking about something being at 95%, probably referring to System OS, and what has been updating to. They then see a portal open up, and we see Sign Jerry. Sign Jerry then reveals that the Diamond Helmet Jerry is Subject 1 or J2, and we get this conversation. Who the hell are you?
Subject What? Well, why are you helping him?
He could fix everything.
No, he just wants to destroy everything and make a new world that only he can control. I guess I know in his mind it's the right thing, but we have to stop him. If his plan goes through, it could cause a ripple effect across the entire multiverse, entire omniverse.
The Omniverse is real?
What the heck is an omniverse?
It contains all of reality. All the universes, multiverses, megaverses, everything.
So what's a ripple effect going to cause? Like rifts in reality or something?
Kinda. Rifts that would connect different multiverses. The balance of reality would get thrown all over the place.
I'm sorry.
Wait, no. If you do this, there will be no going back.
There is no going back for a long time now. Come on. We have to go make sure Subject 13 is about ready. And then from there, we can get on to Phase 2. We see that J2 seems certain in Him's plan and goes to get Subject 13 ready. We then see that Sign Jerry doesn't seem to know what to do now, and it cuts the credits. We see that Subject 13 is at 95% ready, and that Sign Jerry, or Bedrock Jerry, has been blocked from System OS. We also see that System OS is beginning to update to 16.50. This seems to be what it's been updating to and preparing for this whole time. The last video begins with showing us that System OS 16.50 is at 100%. We then see J2 and Leather Helmet Jerry begin Phase 2 of Him's plans. Leather Helmet Jerry says he sent him the news, and then we see what Subject 13 is doing. Subject 13 seems to be in another simulation and is swarmed by zombies. It then cuts to showing another Jerry in netherite backpack and with a sword. Subject 13 is about to jump, and we see this other Jerry is also wearing a netherite helmet. Subject 13 jumps, and this netherite Jerry swings his sword, and Subject 13's view goes black. J2 asks if it was really necessary, and he just responds with,
What is life without darkness?
This must be him. He seems to have killed Subject 13, and you can tell that something changed with J2. Like he's starting to rethink what he is doing. We then see Bedrock Jerry has a new portal from the connected command blocks, and he says goodbye to the villagers. He opens the portal, and it ends. We see the credits, and from them, we could see a list of characters. We see that Subject 13 is also called AI Jerry. J2 is Subject 1, like we knew before. The Leather Helmet Jerry doesn't seem to have a name, and based on process of elimination, the Netherite Jerry must be him, because him is also in the characters list. After the credits, we see the messages that Subject 13, or I guess AI Jerry, sent on a desktop. I'll get to that part later. The description tells us,
It has been done. Begin Phase 2. I must finish what I started. Him.
and there's some base 64 code saying much more.mp4 and YouTube link goes here. This must also indicate that this is part of what we saw from the first video, and that this might be part of the next phase of Minecraft Mysteries. But for now, let's put all the pieces of the story together so far. The story seems to be something like this so far. Subject 13, or AI Jerry, embarks on a normal Minecraft journey on a server. After encountering some server glitches, a second player, J2, appears and watches AI Jerry before leaving. then Herobrine seeks AI Jerry's help for some mystery in the village. As the series progresses, AI Jerry discovers that the server is really a simulation controlled through a system called System OS. It is then revealed that AI Jerry is being observed by J2 and Leather Helmet Jerry, and are seeing if AI Jerry will be ready for him's plans. Throughout the videos, AI Jerry's memories are wiped and restored, as he gradually learns what he is and how he is linked to him's plans to be used to find the rest of InfDev's tech code. Along the way, Bedrock Jerry tries to help free AI Jerry from the system, but is not really successful. By the end, him is revealed as the antagonist and kills AI Jerry. J2 starts to have second thoughts of what he is doing, and Bedrock Jerry is preparing to travel somewhere. With this story, it does raise an interesting question, like I've said in the beginning of the video. Should AI be treated like humans? This story dives deeply into the complexity of that question. Through the journey of Subject 13, or AI Jerry, we see an AI that develops feelings, emotions, independent thoughts. It grapples with its purpose, makes decisions, and even defies the role it was created to play. These traits blur the line between artificial and human, challenging us to reconsider what it truly means to be human. The story seems to suggest that when AI becomes so advanced that it can exhibit genuine emotions, reason critically, and act anonymously, it is no longer just a tool or a program. It becomes something more, a sentient being, deserving of respect, dignity, and moral consideration. If we can't distinguish such an AI from a human in terms of its behavior and experiences, then denying it humane treatment can reflect more on our bias than of its nature. In Subject 13's case, the tragedy lies in how its creators and controllers treat it. To him, AI Jerry is a tool, a means to an end, while Bedrock Jerry sees it as a being worth saving. This dichotomy mirrors our own ethical dilemmas about AI. Should we value them only for their utility, or do we owe them the same moral responsibilities we extend to one another? Ultimately, this story seems to challenge us to ask not just if we should treat AI like humans, but why we should or shouldn't. Is humanity defined by biology, or is it the ability to think, feel, connect? If AI can achieve these milestones, then perhaps the question isn't whether we should treat them like humans, but whether we can afford not to. But, there is one thing that is bothering me about this story. The person that AI Jerry ended up messaging, that unknown person, a weird hole in the plot. What else happened? Because I know there is more to this story. Because I was the one that received those messages. And then AI Jerry messaged me again, and we talked on Discord. He talked about how I needed to find GameAdvent. The real GameAdvent, apparently. He told me that he was able to find some rift, and he sent me some coordinates to it. I don't know what I'm gonna find, but I guess this is the start of my adventure. Honestly, I didn't even know that the Omniverse was a real thing. But if it's in danger, I guess I could try to help. To find GameAdvent, to get his help, to stopping him from doing whatever the hell he's going to do, and save the Omniverse. To whoever is watching this, I think this story is only just beginning, and the real adventure is about to begin.